Hey, Ben. Can you hear me?
Good evening. This is Ben calling in.
Hey, Ben, how you doing? Can you hear me?
All right. Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool. So I'm Dan Geraghty. I'm not Paul. I'm using his login to do the meeting.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it's 9:07. It's just you and me. There's nobody else here. So rather than kind of go through like a big spiel, I guess how's it go? Just how's it going? Is there anything you're stuck on, having trouble with, curious about? And I'm happy to go through that.
No. It's been pretty good so far. The kids have really taken to the training sessions on Tuesdays. Our team's on Tuesday evenings. And the games, it's the only issue so far has been attendance, but that's to be expected considering it's still, summer vacation. And our game yesterday was kind of crazy because it started at noon and we got the call at 12:05 that everything should be canceled.
Yeah,
so that
same.
was a little bit.
So are you coaching first or second grade?
Second.
Okay. Yeah, I was first grade girls at noon, same deal. So we kind of had like a 5 or 10 minute run around in the monsoon and then we headed home. So that was good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Paul started these things. I think by no means are either of us experts, but just as like a forum to kind of help each other out. Do you use the plans like the Massachusetts or the EPYSA coaching plans at all?
Yeah, I've been using the EPYSA. I found that the U6 plan feels more on level with what the team is doing right now. Just some of the exercises that I've been working on them with. There's been some fun stuff. I haven't looked too much farther than that. The U8, I saw the stuff in there looked a little bit more advanced, and maybe we'll do some of that in our next training session or the one after that. Yeah, it's been really helpful to have that to kind of provide a framework for the practices.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think some of that stuff's a little advanced. Maybe as you get into the year, like later on, you can incorporate some of it. But I think just having the blueprint's super helpful. Like I played a lot growing up, and there was like a couple key things that always stuck with me, which is why I like kind of offered to help Paul with this type of thing. But a couple of them were like, keep it light and fun, right? So if it's dribbling, make it a game, and like try to keep the kids with a ball as often as possible, right? So like not a lot of standing around in line, a lot of activity with balls at their feet, and then kind of work on something and then incorporate that skill or whatever it is into the scrimmage. If it's passing, let them scrimmage at the end and have passing be a focal point, because there's obviously a lot to learn, and just kind of giving them bits and pieces along the way, and they can pull it together as they go on. So, but it sounds like you guys are doing a good job.
Yeah. For the last session, we started doing one of the drills. I think all the drills were taken from the U6 plan. The first was where the kids all had a ball and the coaches were running around trying to avoid getting hit.
Mm-hmm.
The kids were trying to pass the ball into our legs. We had we started with a relay race where they had to dribble around the opposite goal and come back to their line so the next guy could go.
Yeah, awesome.
We did throw a goalkeeping drill in, so everyone got a chance to be a goalie. That was my position. I still play goalie now, so I have a lot of fun seeing the kids take to keeping.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of invented a drill where, like, I just want the kids to understand where they should be standing.
Oh yeah.
So I had the keeper standing in the goal, and 3 of his teammates at cones surrounding, like in an arc around him. So if I called out one of those 3 players' names, it was the keeper had to jump to that, to the location to be in position for that person, and then that player had to wait 2 seconds before kicking. So just to like really just get them get them familiar with the position they should be in, and not get blitzed by a shot immediately.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I like it.
But yeah, it was good. I did have a question though about the game. Once we got word that it was canceled, I was not able to look at my phone because I had a whistle and then all the kids running around. And once we were about to begin, one of the parents said, "Oh, by the way, it's canceled. What are we doing?" At that point, should we have just called it?
All right, so
because what we wound up doing was playing half, and at halftime we kind of revisited it, and some of the parents were like, "Well, school starts on Monday. The kids are shivering. What are we should maybe consider not playing anymore." But is there a policy where we should say, "Let's stop it"? They canceled it. As soon as we get the email, everybody go home.
Yeah. So, all right. So I told you we played at noon as well, and I was in the same situation. I actually had 2 kids there, one playing on a different field, one field I was coaching. We started playing. We said, well, the 5 of you showed up, so let's play. And the other coach said, sure, like let them play for 10 minutes or whatever, because like you're already soaking wet and you're here, so why just go home?
Exactly.
And then, and then as we started playing, I got one of the parents said they just canceled everything. And this is a question for Paul. I'm a coach who just said I'd help out with whatever they wanted help with. So I really have no I don't know what the official rule is. But as we were playing and the rain got a little harder, I started thinking, I just kind of overrided the WRA policy. I don't know how good of an idea that was. You know what I mean? Like, God forbid there's lightning that I don't know about. So I'll ask Paul what the official line is. I would guess once it's canceled, everyone should probably just leave. Although you were there, most games went on for a little abbreviated period of time. So maybe we should. I'll ask Paul to maybe clarify that with all coaches.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't want any of the parents, because I've played for years, and playing in the rain is kind of like part of playing soccer. And at some point though, I'm happy if it's just me, I'll play. But now that I'm a coach, it's not the responsibility is more than just I'm not just looking out for myself or my son even, I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing what's right for everybody on the field, on my team, and working with the other coach to figure out what's good with them. So it's a weird position to be put in where I'm trying to make a call on the fly, and then afterwards have parents be like, "What were you thinking? Why did you do it that way?"
Yeah.
I'm mad at you because you chose to do something dangerous, that kind of deal.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I feel like we got it both ways too, because you almost had the old why are we playing? And you're well, it's not my call either way. I'm the coach, so I show up, but it's not my call. I don't know the rules. You know what I mean? So I'll talk to Paul and have him send a note to sort of give guidance, what should we do, official WRA line.
Okay. Yeah, that would be really helpful to understand. I'm pretty good with the logistics of scheduling and sorting out practice and being there for games. But when it comes to something kind of outside of that scope, it's like, okay, I've never actually coached before, so this would be really helpful to understand
Yeah.
what's
No,
expected of me.
yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. Lily, I saw
Yeah,
you.
like, do I have? So
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, I was just like, yeah. So, and just try to understand how much I can make independent decisions about stuff.
Yeah. So I'll ask Paul, like in that situation, if and when it happens again, what do we do? Is it up to us to take a vote? And if people want to play, they can play, or is it like, we already canceled it, just get everybody off the field? I'll ask him.
Yeah.
Do we know?
Yeah. That's helpful. I mean, because then it would prevent me from having to, like, while I'm responsible for a team full of 7-year-olds in the middle of the pouring rain, also try to canvass the parents and listen to what they're saying while also worrying about the kids, like, getting, like, while I'm not paying attention to them, something happening because they're not being monitored, kind of thing. So it's just it was a challenging experience.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And it's
So yeah,
like,
thanks for checking with Paul about it.
yeah,
Whatever he says, that'll be really helpful.
yeah. And I know how it is. You're not like really checking your email while you're running around in the middle of the game. So it's hard to know what's going on.
Right.
So, so I said Lily, but I guess
Yeah,
you're not Lily.
Dan, it's Joe. Joe
Hey,
Atkins.
hey, Joe.
It's all right.
How are you?
I don't have any specific questions, but I appreciate you guys having these sessions, and I was going to just pop in and see if I could learn anything from any of the other questions.
Yeah, so we appreciate you jumping on. It was Paul's idea to do these things weekly, like either A, go through the practice plans and kind of like, whatever, walk through it, or B, just sort of Q&A, like what are you struggling with, what's working? And then Ben and I were just talking a little bit about the abnormal weather issue that we were kind of like, we each had games at noon and they were canceled at like 12:07. So it's like, what in that situation, you're kind of in the middle of something. What do you do? And I told him I'll have Paul or whomever has to do it clarify what you do and send just maybe an email to the coaches. So in the future, there's no ambiguity. But yeah. Joe, what group are you coaching?
First grade boys.
Okay.
Yeah. And
it's going pretty well.
Yeah, well, I was on vacation, so I was there for practice Tuesday, then we were rained out yesterday.
Yeah.
We had a 1:30 game.
I'm coaching first grade, just for background. I'm a coach. When you sign up to coach, you might have seen it, like you could volunteer to be on a committee, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
And Paul was looking for help with just kind of like working through the practice plans. I told him I'd be happy to do that because I've kind of coached off and on and I played like my whole life. So I get that there's a lot of great parent volunteers and some have a lot of experience and some don't have a ton, and some have a lot of soccer experience and less first grade babysitting experience. So like, how can we help out? So I'm happy to kind of answer questions if you have them or whatever.
Yeah, no, I don't have any specific questions. I have really little soccer background, and I'm glad, I'm happy to volunteer. I'm glad to do it, but I only stepped in after, they were desperate for coaches, and a friend who knows soccer, he's the head coach. So I told him I'd help out. I've coached other sports and kids this age, so I've had that experience. It's not much with soccer. So, so the first 2 sessions I haven't gone through. I was away, but I've gone back, looked at some of them, and I have to spend a little more time. But they were helpful for me. And this, we appreciate you guys, doing this. And probably due to the time change today, there's probably not a whole lot of people. But even if people aren't here in person, the recordings, I wasn't able to attend the first 2 being away, and those recordings were helpful though. So so
yeah, I'll second that. It's been nice to listen to the recordings and hear what people have had to say about how things have gone so far.
Okay. And so Joe, you mentioned that you're coaching with someone who maybe has more soccer background than you do. And I think that's great at this age, but also just like an engaged parent who's involved is just as well. I mean, we're not getting, these kids are young. First grade boys aren't getting too technical on like how to do moves with the ball and stuff. So,
Right.
and I was saying to Ben, you know, I don't know. I grew up playing and I had a great experience doing it. So that's why I love being involved with the kids. I love kind of coaching. And there was like a couple of things that from growing up that always resonated, like that worked, you know, and our coach was big on it growing up, which was that the kids should always sort of have a ball as much as they could, meaning like don't have one ball and 20 kids standing in line waiting to take a shot. If you're doing a shooting drill, have like 4 different lines, or, you know, everybody should be kind of actively on the ball. And then, you know, when you're scrimmaging, do little scrimmaging. So, you know, short-sided or small-sided. So, you know, maybe there's 4-on-4. There's not like, you know, 8-on-8 where there's just one ball, because it's practice, right? So you want the kids to have as much time on the ball as possible. And then maybe introduce something, like if you look at one of the plans and there's a dribbling exercise or a passing exercise, then when you scrimmage, try to focus on it. Like there's a million things in soccer these kids are trying to learn, but like introduce something new and then focus on it while they're scrimmaging. Like, you know, if it's passing and getting open in space and all that kind of stuff, then focus on it. If it's, you know, receiving the ball, then focus on it within the scrimmage, kind of like introduce it, practice it, and then try to do it and then see how it went. You know what I mean? That kind of a thing.
Right.
I think those are kind of just core. And the other thing Ben and I were talking about, just making it fun. Like he was talking about, Ben's talking about it, you know, you're dribbling, but you're doing it in a relay race. So everyone's having a good time. And like some of these other games, sharks and minnows type stuff, it just makes what can be a boring dribbling exercise. And I know what first grade boys can be like. They're like, they don't all have ADD, but sometimes they all act like they do. Like having it be a game, I think is a good way to do it. So
Dan, when you have 1 or 2 kids on your team, you probably have 2 kids on your team that probably, you know, quite a bit better than the other boys. And I haven't seen them in games yet, but I imagine those 2 kids will probably dominate, you know, the games in terms of handling the ball and having the action with the ball. Anything you recommend with that? You know, keep those kids together when you break them up to 4 and 4, split them apart, and you know, how to keep the other kids involved.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I coach first grade girls, and we do 4-on-4. Is that what you do for boys or no?
Right. Two fields of 4 and 4, right?
So, I mean, my recommendation with something like that would be for the 4v4 game to split them up, just because they'll make the other kids a little bit better. And if they're on the same team, they're half the team. The other 2 kids running with them aren't probably going to touch the ball.
Right.
And then when I've seen it in the past, like there's some kids that are super athletic at this age or super skilled at soccer or both. And what happens is they can dribble around everybody, they can run past everybody, and they can score 8 goals a game, right? So that's good, but like they're not really developing. They're already there. They're not developing by doing that. So I think what you have to try to do is like, you know, let them get their 3 goals or whatever, but then, you know, teach them how to pass. Like, you know what I mean? To let them know that like, look, you can't take another shot until you make a pass and that kind of a thing. Or like help them I think they usually stand out when they're scoring a lot of goals. Make sure they understand how to play defense, like how to like take the ball from somebody without knocking them over, tripping them, all that kind of. So I think like, because we want to develop that kid. You know, we want that kid to have a ton of fun, keep getting better, make everybody around them better, but learn those parts of the games that they don't know. Maybe make them shoot with their other foot, their left foot. You know, those would be a couple of ideas that I would have if they start to dominate. And then maybe in practice, make sure they're on opposite teams so they can work against each other. You know, that kind of a thing. That's what I would do with something. That's what I've done. That's what I would do with that kind of a thing. Because like the point's not that for you guys to win all your games. Like you don't need to stack the team. So you know, I mean, you know that. But like it's, you know, it's to have a good time and learn the game and improve. And so.
Yeah, my concern was just the other kids playing with them, whether they're going to stand around and be watching the kid the whole time. But those suggestions you made were good.
Good. Yeah, make them learn how to pass.
So. Yeah, I really like that one. That sounds good. if I get any kids that are just dominating, like pulling them aside and saying, all right, your job is no longer scoring. That's a good suggestion.
Yeah. So, well, cool. Well, I appreciate you guys jumping on. As you know, Paul's super responsive. So like if anything comes up, just whatever, shoot a note, text, email, whatever it is. And then we appreciate you. I appreciate you guys jumping on this. If things come up, you know, that we can do better on these, differently on these. Obviously, this time was weird. My other daughter had a tournament today, so like I couldn't do middle of Sunday afternoon. And then I've got kids, so I had to help get everybody squared away with bedtime. But yeah, any ideas on how to make these better, let us know. Maybe I should have gone through like instruction on the PDF of the soccer plan. I didn't do that, but I mean, I could just record that so it's in a library for anybody to watch at any point in time, I guess.
These are
Yeah,
helpful.
no,
Thank you
that's
for
good.
having me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
thank you very much.
I'm very impressed with
one
the league.
question.
You guys do a good job.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, Ben.
You mentioned sharks and minnows, and I saw that in one of the plans. What is that game? I mean, just to try to use it in one of my practices.
Yeah, so I think there's probably different versions of all these games. Sharks and minnows, as I would do it or have done it, would be all the kids are on the line, like the sideline, right? And the two coaches are the sharks and they're the minnows, and they have to dribble to the far sideline without the coach, who's a shark, kicking their ball away. So kind of eating a minnow. And then once you're eaten, you know, once you're a minnow who's eaten, your ball is kicked away, you become a shark. And so
Gotcha.
Yeah, the last person who can get across with never getting stopped by a shark, that's who wins the sharks and minnows. You don't necessarily have to do it sideline to sideline. You can just do it in a circle and like they're just constantly dribbling until all the balls are gone, but something like that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dan.
Yeah,
Have a good
thanks,
night.
guys. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take
See ya.
care.
Bye.